Okay, as we move around in the Latin dances, I talked about there being a V. My heels and ankles are touching, okay? And this kind of creates like a V. And I'm always gonna try to keep my head and my spine within that V, okay? So as soon as I go past the V, there goes my balance as well. Okay, so the toes have the strength and the control in our feet. Okay, the heels don't so much. So if we're falling out of our V here, then we're gonna lose our balance that way. You're not gonna fall over probably, but it's not gonna be as balanced as a position as you could be in. Okay, so every step that you take needs to be able to stay within that V so that you have the control. Okay, if your step's too little, you could push your own self past your V, and you knock your own self off your own V. Okay, so we have to find the sweet spot. Typically, the general rule for the size of the step is if your foot can point out to the side, or point out in front of you, or point out behind you, that's as big as your step is going to be. So this would be an example of a bad step. So I'm going to reach, and then I'm going to step even farther. Now I'm too far. I didn't get my spine over my foot. When I pick this heel up, I'm not over that foot yet. And now I'm over that foot. As you can see, just where you put the heel down, pick that heel up, that should be the size of the step that you should be taking. So that's how you can kind of measure how big of a step you should take, or if your step's too big or not big enough. Okay? Now, if you're a lady watching this, the higher your heels are, the less surface area you're going to have on your feet. So the less you're going to be able to have to touch the ground with. So your step is going to be smaller. So I'm wearing, I think these are 1.5 inch Cuban man heels. Okay, if I were wearing 2 inches or something, I would have to come in slightly, and so my step would be smaller. So the higher you go on your heels, the step's going to have to shrink down a little bit to maintain your balance, at least at the basic level. So get used to balance first, then you can push the boundaries as you get better and more balanced. Otherwise, you learn all this cool choreography and stuff, but you can't execute it because you're falling over, or you can't dance with your partner because you're trying to turn and you're falling over. So it's better to learn the foundational things first, and then go back through and add the cooler things after you've got a good foundation of movement and balance. Okay? All right, so we've got our little V here. So every time I take a step, I have to reconnect to that V. Otherwise, I could push myself past my own V. So my feet kind of create this, if you can imagine a line coming through here, and this is my V, I gotta stay within that V to keep my balance. As soon as I go out of that V, there goes my balance. Okay? So that's always gonna be your V position.